Trump is back, and whether you love him or loathe him, something massive is happening at the southern border. ICE, Border Patrol, military personnel, federal agents, all fully mobilized. And for the first time in years, it actually feels like someone's doing their job. You won't hear this from CNN. You definitely won't hear it on MSNBC. But here's the hard truth. Border crossings through the Darien Gap, once called the most dangerous and overrun migrant route on Earth, have dropped to nearly zero. After years of chaos, caravans, and surging crossings under Biden, the script has flipped. Why? Because enforcement is back in style. Not feelings, not hashtags, actual law and order. ICE deportations are up to 168% year over year. And that's not some cherry-picked stat. That's straight from government data. You've got immigration officers detaining people before they even get off the plane. No court date, no due process, just gone. That would have sparked riots in 2022. Now, the media just quietly calls it a crackdown and moves on. Here's the kicker. Congress, yes, the same do-nothing, gridlocked, bickering circus that hasn't agreed on anything in a decade, just passed a $170 billion enforcement bill. That's funding for drones, border walls, ICE hiring, detention expansion, and overseas cooperation. They even expanded programs to detain migrants in third-party countries before they reach U.S. soil. Some are calling it Guantanamo Light. Others are calling it, finally. And where's the outrage? The think pieces, the protests, gone. Because under Trump, people expect this. But let me ask you something. If this exact policy had been announced under Biden, what do you think the headlines would have looked like? Fascist, authoritarian, anti-humanitarian. But now it's just strong leadership. Funny how that works. In fact, ICE isn't just targeting border crossers anymore. Reports show thousands of workplace raids are resuming nationwide. In New York, Los Angeles, Houston, factories, restaurants, even airports. Union leaders are screaming. Business owners are panicking. But here's the real headline. Americans are watching, nodding, and saying, good. That's not a talking point, it's a seismic political shift. This isn't just about Trump being Trump. It's about the Overton window snapping back like a rubber band. For years, we were told that borders were colonial, that enforcement was racist, that ICE should be abolished. Now, they're being supercharged. And no, it's not just ICE. The military is being activated along key migration corridors. Human smugglers are being targeted with anti-terror laws. Even NGO transport networks, the ones that use to quietly bus migrants across state lines, are being audited and defunded. Meanwhile, Venezuelan migrants deported under Trump's executive order aren't being flown home. They're being flown to CECOT, the infamous El Salvador megaprison. The same place human rights groups called a death factory just a year ago. You think that's harsh? Maybe it is. But Trump's message is clear. If you come here illegally, you don't just get turned away. You disappear. And the result? A 77% drop in attempted crossings in just 3 months. Let that sink in. All the money, all the social programs, all the empathy-based messaging under Biden couldn't move the needle. Trump comes in, brings a hammer, and the flow dries up. Now ask yourself, what does that say about the system we've been told to trust? Of course, there are critics. The ACLU is suing. Progressive think tanks are calling it a humanitarian collapse. But the polls, they're showing something very different. Support for strong border enforcement is hitting record highs, even among independents and Latinos. Turns out, when the consequences are real, the crisis stops being abstract. So here's the bottom line. Trump wins again. Not just in the courts, not just in the press, but where it matters, on the ground, at the border, in policy, and in perception. The chaos is retreating, the noise is fading, and the numbers don't lie. Whether this is the solution we need, or just a temporary fix, remains to be seen. But one thing's certain, the era of open borders is over. And for the first time in years, Americans are starting to believe their government isn't afraid to act. The media won't admit it. The left can't spin it. But the results are in. And Trump just reshaped the national conversation all over again.